We will reconvene meeting number 137 at about 3:30, and Director Wells of the IEB all by herself.
I am all by myself here, but not for long. So, good afternoon. On the agenda this afternoon are the results of the suitability investigation for an additional Win Mass LLC qualifier, Mr. Robert DeSalvio, and Mr. DeSalvio is present here this afternoon. Mr. DeSalvio was hired by Win Resorts Limited in March of 2014 as Senior Vice President of Development for Win Resorts Development. He will be overseeing the Massachusetts facility in Everett. He was just recently officially named President of Win Mass LLC. Mr. DeSalvio submitted all the required forms and supplemental document requests to the IEB, and our investigators conducted a rigorous background check. The full report has been given to you for your consideration. As I've said on numerous occasions doing these qualifier reports before, the areas covered in the investigation included employment history, criminal record, education, directorships and shareholder interests, civil litigation, bankruptcies, property ownership, political contributions, references, and media coverage. And investigators also conducted a financial responsibility evaluation with positive results. Mr. DeSalvio obtained a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration from the University of Denver in 1978. He began his career in the casino industry in 1979 as a sales manager for Caesars in Atlantic City, New Jersey. From 1981 to 83, he was the national sales manager for Bally in Atlantic City, New Jersey. From 1983 to 1987, he was the Executive Vice President of Marketing and the Director of Casino Marketing and Credit Executive Host at Sands in Atlantic City, New Jersey. From 1997 to 2006, he was the Executive Vice President of Marketing at Foxwoods Resorts in Connecticut. And from 2006 to 2014, he was the president of Sands Casino Resort in Las Vegas Sands in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, before taking the position with Win. During his career, Mr. DeSalvio has been licensed in 4 other jurisdictions, New Jersey, Connecticut, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. The report does note a matter from Connecticut, where in 1999, Mr. DeSalvio authorized 2 cash vouchers allegedly in contravention of governing standards of the Meshantucket Pequot Tribal Nation. Foxwood settled that matter with the Connecticut Department of Special Revenue in February of 2001 and acknowledged that the governing standards and controls were not entirely clear. Foxwoods has since revised and clarified the policies and procedures. There was no individual discipline against Mr. DeSalvio. He remained licensed and in good standing in Connecticut and was subsequently licensed in Pennsylvania after leaving Foxwoods and taking a position with Sands in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Overall, Mr. DeSalvio has demonstrated by clear and convincing evidence that he is suitable for licensure in Massachusetts, and therefore the IEB is recommending that the Commission find him suitable. No conditions are recommended.
Questions?
I see no reason why we shouldn't approve this. For a career this long, I'm actually surprised there's only one minor issue here of note. No, it's a clean investigation, and
yeah, we're comfortable.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve this applicant as a qualifier, Mr. DeSalvio.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Congratulations. And now, you have some more topics.
Oh. Okay. Got my team here now. I believe believe next on the agenda is the internal controls, which I believe there was some discussion earlier when I was in the back of the room in conjunction with the credit. So defer to Mr. Grossman and Mr. Band on some of the substantive matters, but my understanding is we need to make a decision on what we want to do moving this forward.
This document is a work in progress. As you could probably tell from looking at it, there are a number of citations and the like that need to be tightened up. We certainly look forward to comments from the licensees and designated licensees on this. We received a comment this morning from MGM relative to an overall approach that they would like the Commission to consider as we move forward with this particular document. So I don't think we have a lot of substantive comment to make relative to this at the moment. I think it would be most helpful for us to develop a plan for moving this forward at this point, though.
Is there anything that you would, not to necessarily discuss now, but just for purposes of our own thinking about this, is there anything that you would particularly point our attention to?
Well, I think what MGM's comments are, and these are overall an area that we have been and will continue to look at, is the level of prescriptiveness that we have included in some of the areas, and whether that is the best approach, whether it's essential for us to do that, or to make it more risk-based and say to the licensees, you must submit a policy and protocol relative to whatever it is, as opposed to us saying you have to submit the policy and it has to contain the following 15 elements or what have you. And that's something that we'll continue to look at. There's no one area that I think needs to be pointed out today, but that's the overall theme of this whole process. I think we've done a good job of identifying the areas in need of policies and in need of attention. The question then becomes, how do you go about ensuring that the internal control that's submitted to us is of the quality that we would be looking for? And that's the process we're looking at right now.
If you took the less prescriptive route.
Whether it should be, yeah, exactly. Yeah. What level of prescription is essential?
No, I was just going to say what also might be helpful for the, in balance is with the licensees having some direction for them, so they are not creating documents which we are then coming back to them and saying, no, this isn't good enough, you need to do something better, that they have some idea what the framework should be so that there is not a continual back and forth with the internal controls, and they know what we really would expect and what would make us comfortable on our end for the Commission, and that it would be sufficient.
But the fundamental process here is that they submit a document of internal controls, gets reviewed here. It needs to include certain minimum standards, and they're all articulated here. Now, the level of that prescriptiveness is a matter of debate or ongoing analysis. But after they submit that, it could be turned around with comments, requests for improvements, or et cetera, and it would put, it allows, the general framework here is it allows for that process, submit, review, and resubmit if needed, which I believe is a reasonable, good approach.
But the level of and I haven't read this letter. It's dated today,
this morning.
Long, but we've always had this continuing dialogue between how much detail to put in there and how much to leave to the licensee.
Absolutely.
What the chips have to look like. That's like money regulations, right? I mean that needs to be highly detailed. And the other end, there's something that doesn't have to be detailed at all, and they could probably give us anything that will work. And there's everything else is in the middle. So,
Where does this fall on the continuum now, Bruce? What does this represent on the continuum of best practice?
Right now, I think you're probably standard in most jurisdictions. Of course, not in Nevada, which is, a completely different operation.
Yeah.
I think it would be greatly beneficial to us to be able to see the property's comments and, specifics about that and give that full consideration. I mean, we're always willing to take a look at another, point of view. The one comment we did get was this morning, and nobody's really had time to review that in detail. So I would kind of take that approach to get the responses back from the industry.
So where are we in the process for this? How much longer will this?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
In order to, these two on the testimony from Mr. George too this morning, in order to be able to support Penn's efforts, we need to try to get this finished by the end of January, which we've got about a 60-day formal process, so we'd have to try to move our internal controls into the formal process by about November 20th.
Okay.
So this will come back to us in a couple of weeks with comments and whatever proposed changes based on those comments.
Yes, and we're hoping as well that we'll be able to combine a couple. It's possible we'll be able to combine. I know Commissioner Enrique and his group as well are working on two other sets that go with this set. So the best world will be able to get those all ready to go on the 20th.
so these are out now for, obviously, for these internal control regulations are now out for the informal public comment before the formal public comment period starts.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
Right. And that runs, the informal process runs how much longer?
It usually runs about 10 days in total. So, but I think these have been out now. This section has been out for that period, haven't they?
It's been out for a number of weeks.
Okay.
So we could move them
back next week.
move them
Next
forward,
week.
I suppose. But I think in this situation, because there's things that have come in for the licensees, it's better for us to hold up.
We agree with that, yeah. Okay. Next up.
So we don't need to do anything?
So, just to clarify, I guess we'll post the credit draft for informal public comment, leave this out there for informal public comment, and bring it back before you in 2 or 4 weeks.
Right.
Does that sound right?
Right.
Okay.
Sounds good. And I think that the last thing on the IEB agenda was the
Gaming
equipment
equipment.
regulations. So that
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This regulation on gaming equipment, as drafted, focuses on equipment for table games, and its subsection, you are seeing this for the first time. Its subsections are divided into chips and plaques, equipment and layouts for the table games themselves, dice, cards, and tiles, and a section on commission, inspection, and approval of gaming equipment. The regulation covers the equipment and table layouts for about 30 of the most popular table games, and the games in this reg will correspond with the games included in the regulation on rules of the games, which is being drafted now. The chips and plaques section sets forth specifications for the manufacture of the various chips and builds in steps for commission and IE approval in the design and manufacture process. This is to ensure that the physical characteristics of the chips, for example, the graphics, colors, edge designs of the various denominations, have appropriate differential features, have built-in anti-counterfeit measures, and are designed so that certain features can be viewed from the gaming establishment's closed-circuit television system. The chips and plaques section also includes provisions requiring the gaming establishment to inspect chips. It includes provisions for the handling of chips, their storage, provisions for documenting inventory, and for the destruction of chips. The game section sets out specification for the gaming equipment and table layouts associated with the approximately 30 games now included, and there is also a petition process if the gaming licensee wants to add a game not presently included. The reg as drafted also allows the establishment to offer alternative layouts for some games with notice to the IEB and to patrons. And the dice section and the cards and tiles section, like the chip section, also specifies design features, handling and storage requirements, and inventory measures. Mr. Band has taken the laboring oar on the substance of this regulation. We'd be happy to try to answer any questions, and it would be our suggestion to put these out for informal public comment at this time, since it's a table game reg and applies to the Category 1 licensees. There seems to be a sufficient time for that to happen, and this is the first time that you're seeing it. We would intend to work with the licensees to get their comments and also to identify an appropriate manufacturer or manufacturers to ask for their comments as well.
Questions?
I'd be interested from Mr. Band. I know that many of these are best practices and used, pretty much uniformly from jurisdiction, but there are some differences in jurisdictions.
Yes.
And then how did we decide which way we wanted to go with?
I took what I thought was probably the most common used in the industry. Gaming equipment, kind of like the rules of the game,
Yes.
are pretty specific.
Yes.
Gaming equipment is, you have some options and things like dice, whether you use rounded dice or what they call razor edge dice, where you really want to use razor edge for people can't slide dice and it catches the felt and rolls. I mean, little specifics like that. On the chips, that's pretty much standard in the gaming industry from the manufacturers. You don't want somebody to be able to, what they call barber pole, chips from another casino or something in a pile. It should be easily to identify that they're all XYZ casinos chips there. So,
Same question I asked before. Is besides the issue of what's the word? Prescriptive. Thank you. Prescriptiveness. Is there anything in particular that you think we should pay particular attention to?
I don't see this document as being controversial.
Okay.
In the industry.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, great. Anything else?
I take it this is one in which you think a lot of prescriptive regulation.
You do spell out, because the table layouts have winning odds on it and particular spots for betting. It's prescriptive because you don't want the spots too close together where people be able to switch cards or cap bets and a lot of things. So it's a lot of the things spelled out in here are for games protection, and I think you have to be when you're talking about equipment because you're looking for some specific standards.
And this, I take it, also is an area where you want standardization across the jurisdiction
Yes.
for enforcement purposes, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody? I think that may bring us to our conclusion. Anything else on anybody's agenda?
So what's the step here? We put these out for public comment?
For informal
Public
So
comment.
no vote is needed.
No vote for that, right, yeah. Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anything else? Catherine, John, Rick? Have a motion to adjourn?
Move
So
to
moved.
adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. You know what that means.